People who can say, I envy you, or I envy that about you, they're my favorite people. Envy and jealousy are feelings that jumpstart us into both directions of ourself. And today I want to speak with you about these feelings. Hi, I'm Uma, and I'm guiding you through this series of emotional literacy. And since I like to be fully human, we look at all facets of emotions, the spiritual as well as biological and traditional medicine as well as psychology. So feel free to jump back and forth on this series to really get literate with me. I'm excited about today's emotions because I want to speak with you about envy and jealousy. You might ask yourself, why is she so excited about envy and jealousy? They are such ugly emotions, but for me, no, no, no. They're beautiful. And let me tell you why. First off, I want to dive with you in both doors that open when you feel envy and jealousy. One of the doors being a connection to our higher selves, and one of the doors being a door where we really shrink into our most shriveling and narrow parts of ourselves. And both can be so very fruitful. So let's look at that. And then let's look at why envy and jealousy is the feeling that hides best from all of us. It's like it comes out in different nuances that are more accepted in society than envy and jealousy because it's like one of these shunned emotions. You shall not be jealous because only ugly people are jealous or whatever. And then I want to dive with you into why we can use this emotion or this group of emotions to jumpstart our spiritual growth. And last but not least, in this part of jealousy, I want to dive into how we can use jealousy and envy to get into reality. Ooh, favorite part. But yeah, be aware there will be disappointment because disappointment is necessary for us to come into reality because we have to leave the dream state. So this will be a very, very rich part where we jump into the different parts of jealousy and envy. Let's start with the most uncomfortable part of jealousy and envy to get that out of the way. The part that makes us petty, very little, and like a sponge that you squeeze and then let dry and it becomes like shriveled. Like, ooh, this is how I feel. Jealousy and envy can change our energetic system if we let it. And when I say if we let it, it does not mean you have to put jealousy away to not get into that state, but just to be aware that that state is always available to you as long as you feel jealousy and envy. And it is your choice how you use the emotion of jealousy and envy. If you use it to go into that direction where it's really uncomfortable, dry, and small, or if you use it to expand and accelerate your spiritual growth. If we want to use jealousy and envy to get into that shriveled state, what we need is a portion of hate into our salad mix of emotions. If we use jealousy to look at someone and see, well, that person is someone that I envy. There is something that that I am jealous about. I want something that person has that I do not have in my own life. And if I then, with that mindset, go into hate for that person and make that person my personal enemy because that person has something that I perceive as something that would be aligned with me, then with that mixture of hate, my own emotional and energetic system would become dense and small and petty. I cannot do anything with a mindset like that. It would cost a lot of energy, a lot of discipline to get from where I am to what I perceive would actually belong to me with discipline while I want to keep that mindset, which means, in clear words, if I see like my neighbor has a new car and this car would be so well in my possession, and I hate my neighbor because he apparently could afford it so easily and he just parks it there and then he smiles and he's so happy with his stupid new car. If I have all this hate building up due to jealousy, then my own energetic system cannot turns and twists. There is nothing positive in me because then I would feel this hate and this jealousy. And that is the resonance that I, in that moment, have in my body that I send out into the world. To be able, with that resonance, to get all the money together to afford a car like his and then drive that car in my garage and think like, okay, now I have the same car, and when I open the car right now I will feel the same amount of happiness. That is not happening because the resonance of feelings that I would have accumulated due to this jealousy and hate are not the baseline that my neighbor has with his new car. So what I am longing for there with my neighbor and his new car is actually something that is out of my reach if I stay in this small and petty and hateful sentiment in my body. Just because of the resonance that I create, the frequency that I send out in the world, and that gets reflected back at me. I would maybe own the same car, but I would not have the same feelings. Maybe I would have something like pride. Maybe where I would have like, ha, I showed it to you, neighbor. I own the same car. I can do the same thing than you. But that would not be the happiness that I saw the neighbor having. See, there's this change that is happening if we go into this small and dense part of jealousy or envy. I bet this is the part why everybody has fear of this emotion and why we have learned, at least in the societies that I talked with so far, that I had interactions with so far, that envy and jealousy is a hateful emotion that is better not to have. So people are largely unaware that they are jealous or envious, that they carry this energy inside themselves, which is the biggest problem of this emotion. Because then it is so far in the shadow side that it's actually difficult to discover. Which means you can be jealous, but it would express so different than this pure jealousy. My neighbor has a car that I would want. It would maybe present as, oh, I wish you well, you did so good, as a compliment, right? But not from the heart. There's like this taste to the compliment that says, this is actually irony. I'm not proud of you at all. I see what you did there. You did good, but I hate you for it. But I still use nice words. And that's how jealousy can present. And if you would mention that to a person who gives fake compliments, I bet they would tell you, no, I'm not jealous. Because they don't feel to be jealous. Because jealousy is hiding in the shadows like a pro. It's really such a well hidden emotion in our societies. So let's go down to the basics. How do we recognize jealousy? For that, let me tap into jealousy to really be sure what I'm feeling here. Mm. So when I'm feeling jealous, I feel at the core of my being, like around the spine, the lower spine in my belly, I feel kind of a nervous tingling feeling that is like an electric current kind of feeling in my body. It's more to the back of my belly. And I feel that influencing my heart rate. I feel like my heart rate is going up. And I feel like my facial muscles are tightening, especially around the jaw. Also, like my eyes, they want to get narrower, like here, but it's like very, very tiny micro movements as if they would pull together. I'm collecting symptoms here. Okay, and energetically, I feel thrown off of my center that is aligning my head and my root, like my crown chakra, my root chakra. There's this energy canal that we spiritual people think is inside of our bodies. And I feel like this is not centered anymore, but it gets thrown off, like pulled more to the front here and in my forehead. So I'm not centered, I'm not connected to my highest self properly anymore if I'm tapping into jealousy. So that was my body. However, jealousy will feel in your body might be completely different. I just took you on this journey to give you an example on how jealousy might feel and to invite you to allow yourself to realize what the feeling of jealousy or envy does in your body. How does it feel? Especially if you tap into the petty side of jealousy and envy. We will later come to the positive side of jealousy and envy, and that might feel completely different because jealousy and envy are emotions that can transform and feel differently depending on how we use them and how well our mindset is trained to use them.